We are watching as Hunter Biden goes on trial for drug charges and firearms offenses. Here's the scene as he arrived in court, the very first family member of a sitting president to face criminal trial. And as we look at those images there, I don't think he stopped at all, just heading right into the courthouse. Richard Madden is covering the story for us, and he is in Washington. As I mentioned, a first. So many unprecedented cases, Richard, just after Donald Trump, of course, last week, but now the first family member of a sitting president to face a criminal trial. What do we watch for as of today?
Yeah, good morning, Heather. Well, jury selection starts today in Delaware. Hunter Biden facing federal charges linked to a gun purchase he made back in 2018. He's accused of lying on a government form, buying and owning a gun while he was using illegal drugs. Now, when you buy a gun here in the U.S., you have to fill out a form and declare you don't use illicit drugs. Hunter Biden checked no. So prosecutors are expected to zero in on that and bring up Hunter Biden's seedy details about his crack cocaine addiction. They've called 3 of his ex-partners to testify about his drug use. We could also see more evidence from his now infamous laptop computer, which include messages and lewd photos that have long been at the center of other political accusations. Now, Hunter Biden has long been open with his struggles with addiction and claims he's been drug-free for years. But this, of course, comes in the midst of the election involving his father. Now, you'll recall about a year ago, both sides cut a plea deal, but that deal surprisingly collapsed the day of the hearing, which brings us to today. The first child of a sitting president set to go on trial. And as I noted, this begins in the midst of his father's re-election campaign, giving his opponents some fresh ammunitions. But Democrats say, just like the guilty verdict against the former president, they insist they'll respect the ruling by the jury in Delaware. Watch.
I think the president himself will respect the verdict, much as, you know, it is painful, I'm sure, to see one of your children on trial. But yes, Americans should accept when a jury reaches a verdict, they should accept the result. That is part of our democracy.
So this trial is expected to last about 2 weeks. And if he's convicted on all the charges, Hunter Biden faces a maximum of 25 years in prison. But this isn't the end for him. In September, he faces a separate federal criminal tax trial in Los Angeles.
Richard, when you mention the president's opponents, chief among them is Donald Trump, and we were talking about his conviction just last week on those felony counts. Republicans who are angry at the verdict for Donald Trump are really taking up his fight on Capitol Hill and beyond. What have we been seeing since Thursday in that history-making verdict?
Yeah, Heather, well, first and foremost, we saw Donald Trump defend himself across the conservative media ecosystem over the weekend, really painting himself as a victim and vowing revenge if he wins in November. He's using this indictment and this historic conviction to really energize his base ahead of November. House Speaker Mike Johnson is now calling for the lead prosecutors to testify on Capitol Hill, accusing them of politicizing New York's justice system. And the party leadership is also demanding fellow Republicans fall in line and back the former president. In fact, the party's co-chair was slamming Maryland Republican Senate candidate Larry Hogan, who urged Americans to respect the verdict in a post over following the conviction. Now, you'll recall Hogan is the party's best chance to flip that deep blue state red, which would give the party control of the Senate. But the party now says they're done with him. Watch.
I think it's ridiculous. And I think anybody who's not speaking up in the face of really something that should never again have seen the light of day, a trial that would never have been brought against any other person aside from Donald Trump, doesn't deserve the respect of anyone. Well, I'll have to get back to you. He doesn't deserve the respect of anyone in the Republican Party at this point.
So Larry Hogan doesn't deserve the respect of the Republican Party. Now, a fresh series of polls since Trump indictment show a slight drop in his support, but I expect we'll see several more polls this week, which may give a clearer snapshot on voter reaction to the Republican nominee, now a convicted felon.
Thank you so much, Richard.
You bet.